Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
Well, look at what I'm having.
You are having a Manhattan. Oh my
I'm
dear.
having a Manhattan tonight.
It's that kind of night, I suppose.
It was the earthquake.
It was. You didn't feel it where you are, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, but we'll talk about it later, but that was a big one.
I guess so. Yeah.
If you felt it all the way where you are, that's big.
It was. It was my poor mother. I mean, it was in New Jersey and close to so little knickknacks fell off the shelves in her house, which is like in a movie or in LA, I suppose.
For her.
I know she was very scared, but she's okay. Yeah. She's okay. Nothing happened other than that. The knickknacks did not break. They fell, but they did not break.
Okay.
Divine providence. So now, first of all, how was your week off? We had a week off. We had a week away.
We had a week off. We had the holiday, and I had a lovely time. I mean, I'm just running around doing my thing up here, trying to figure out how to keep it all together. But I thought it was nice. We had a blizzard that started on Thursday. So Wednesday night, Thursday.
Yeah, it snowed here too.
It's still snowing, which is lovely. So, I might go skiing.
Yeah. Okay, good. Please be careful. Every time somebody says I'm going skiing, I just envision them getting hurt. That's just.
Well, I did break my leg years ago skiing.
Right. So see,
pretty bad break, but
that's what I'm saying. I don't like to do danger. So to start off, we don't want to spend too much time up front because we want to get to our guests, right? But I have some jokes that I wrote.
Oh, let me hear your jokes.
I felt like it. Okay. These are not good. These are not good jokes. Okay. So earthquake, eclipse, hailstorm, dual emergence of the cicada broods. I don't know if you heard about that. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted and said that these are strong signs from God telling Americans to repent. And she then added, we should do that in the time-honored way that she repents by shacking up with your tantric sex guru.
Oh, yeah. In the locker room? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice and sweaty.
That's how you repent. That's how, all faith in the Lord. And then now you mentioned the eclipse. The eclipse is coming. And where you can see where the moon completely covers the sun, they call that the totality. Totality is what it's called. I like that word, totality. The MAGA like this because they like the totality because they think that means the sun and the moon are fascists. That's it. And get it? Totality. Yeah, it's not good. I told you these are not good. They're not good jokes.
They're not good jokes.
Hey, can you practice law in the state of California?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, you cannot. And I cannot practice law in the state of California. And you know who else cannot practice law in the state of California? John Eastman. John Eastman. Oh, yeah. Yep. Discard. We have to drink to it every time. Yep.
Yeah.
He can't practice law. It's too bad. If he practiced better, he might suck less at it. That's it. Those are my jokes. Thank you for playing. Great. Now we get to talk about depressing, horrible things.
Okay, let's go right into the depressing horror. Let's go into the horror that we're all living through here. I got 8 minutes on the timer. What's our first topic, Greg Olear?
Our first topic is, alas, it's BB the Butcher. I mean, we have to talk about him this week because I feel like there's red line after red line with this guy, but this week is just a new low. I mean, I can't. You have the stray IDF missile kills these the World Central Kitchen workers, the aid workers who are trying to feed the starving people of Gaza. And there's like some apology or whatever. And I know, look, it's the fog of war. Things happen. What I know is that, like in 1998, the Russians, who completely disorganized at the time, using technology we gave them, killed the leader of the Chechen uprising by hurling a missile at him based on his cell phone data. That we gave him this technology. That was 25 years ago, but they screwed up this badly. Really? I mean, it seems weird to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of just, oh God. We just didn't know, right? There's a lot of, I just don't buy it. we saw in shock and awe, and we saw way back in early 90s. Like, we have seen the satellite technology. You can identify here the missiles going. It went right through the logo on the top of the car. That's not a mistake. And with to have Chef Jose come out and say this was a targeted attack, he knows what he's talking about. You have to go into a conflict zone with any kind of aid, and be a recognized organization that is allowed to come in there. There's communication. There's like it's very well planned. We're going here. Do we have it cleared? You're waiting for them to tell you where to go, and how to get there. And then you can see the logo. And then what? Israel doesn't have advanced technology. They don't have the latest technology. I thought that was the whole thing, is that they not only had it, they helped develop a lot of it. What are we talking about here?
It's not, and we've gone beyond, and I feel like we always have to have the caveat that when we're talking about this, we're talking about Bibi, who's the person doing the war.
Yeah, well, I want
the idea of operating is what's happening now is not something that the Israeli people seem to like very much, based on the protests and polling and reading the papers there and everything else, and the people here don't seem to like it very much. And
what were you going to say about lavender? Like the
yeah, well, that's another thing I read. Apparently, now we've talked about AI on the show, and I wore my "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" because we're future oriented on this show.
Yeah.
Especially in this episode, as we will see.
Yeah.
But they are using, apparently, I forget which outlet. I think it was The Guardian reported this. I can't remember. Forgive me if I get it wrong. There's apparently an AI program that's figuring out where to drop the bombs based on algorithms that, Hamas is going to be more there than somewhere else. And, they've denied it, whatever, but it's a thing that's there. The program is called Lavender. And when I saw this, I thought it was satire. I thought it was one of these bad satires where I had to go hunt out the article and no, this is a real article. And look, we've bashed AI on the show a lot. And we've heard about the good stuff from when Tom Kemp was here. We talked about the good applications of it. When we said that all the sci-fi that we've ever invented, when, the computers are going into the brains of man and how that's awful, and we figured this out already. What we don't want the fucking computers to do is determine who lives and dies. We've jumped so far to the end of the sci-fi movie here.
Yeah.
That it's
dystopian nightmare.
Apart from but the other thing, and this is more serious. Okay. I can't remember the name of the guy that wrote this. It was some psychiatrist, I think in the late 19th century, this idea that the farther removed you are from violence and from killing, the easier it is psychologically to kill. Right. So if you strangle somebody to death, that is an intensely physical act that you're using your hands to do. It takes minutes to do it, and you feel it in your body, and it's harder psychologically to recover from something like that. If you shoot somebody with a sniper rifle, you can barely see them. That's it. If you bomb somebody from an airplane, that also,
using satellites sitting behind it.
We remove the guilt associated with killing.
Yeah.
This AI business is as far removed as it gets. They could just be like, "Oh, a computer said." Yeah. It alleviates any kind of moral responsibility on the part of the people using the technology, and that's, to me, really the danger of it, because they can just blame now bad algorithms. It's like when no different than when I went shopping for a toilet on Amazon, and then I got toilet ads for the next week.
It's a little bit of an echo of we were just following orders.
Yes. Yeah. But
I do think we need to come back around to that. For me, and I'm glad you pointed out, as we continue to point out, that this is a Bibi Netanyahu issue. And I can't imagine anyone worse for Israel than Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Israel is more than just one corrupt man, right? Isn't that the whole point of Israel? Is it's more than just one strong man?
Yeah.
A corrupt strong man who's using this war to stay in power and cling to power and committing atrocities so that he can stay in power as one man. So I just can't wrap my mind around the coverage where that isn't what is pointed out. And the irony is so thick in this that it's we're choking on it. So I just think that's the most important message to continue to put out, is that Israel is more than just one man. And at the point where people are so confused and they've collapsed, this one man, this corrupt leader, this strong man committing atrocities now for his own selfish goals of staying in power, so he doesn't have to face the consequences of his criminality. And he used corruption and every trick in the book to reattain that power to avoid justice. And he's using it now. I'm going to call it a genocide. He's using this. He's starving people to death and bombing aid workers to cling to power and trotting out spokespeople to talk about hostages. That, and this is the reason, because we have to get rid of these people because they're so awful that all of them should be considered terrorists. I heard that this week, right on the cable news, right? From the ambassador. So, it's more resonance of that truism of you become what you fear. You become what you hate. Throw off the strong man. A strong man has a genocidal maniac, strongman psychopath has absolutely no place at the top of Israel, running Israel and making everyone believe that he is Israel. That if you criticize him, you're criticizing Israel. That to call him out is somehow anti-Semitic globally. For the whole diaspora, you can't call this man out. That notion of he's somehow perfect and unassailable, and if you criticize him or call for his removal, you're calling for the end of Israel, is actually what's going to bring the end of Israel. This man is the threat. He is the existential threat to the survival of Israel. And I know the alarm went off. I just want everyone to, the next thought exercise for me in this is, okay, he and Jared get what they want, because Jared has stated, hey, that's really valuable real estate, Gaza. We'd love to develop that. I'm sure Jared has plans. I can't imagine he doesn't have development plans. I'm sure they exist. I would love for someone to leak those. But if the whole thing is we just, or a big part of the thing is we need to just get these humanity is in the way of our real estate development and our greed, and we just want this, and we just want to we want our thing, our goodie, that is all the riches, and to have this land and to be able to fully develop it. I just want it doesn't seem to be that there's an intellect there that has any depth on the behalf of Bibi Netanyahu and Jared Kushner, which we already know how dumb he is, of, okay, you want to just get it this way? This is how you're going to get it? How is that going to work out after? And no one wants to think about that and go there. Let's say he succeeds, Bibi succeeds, and he wipes out all the Palestinians, and he has Gaza, and Jared gets to start building his real estate. How is the world going to respond to that? You think the UN isn't going to respond to that? We're out, right? If Joe's in office, we're out. Maybe Donald gets in there and we're in with this whole new world order, and let's just be this way. He can't afford, Bibi cannot, Israel's very wealthy. He's not going to be able to afford to reconstruct and build and do all that. So who's coming in with the money to do this? People need to go there, ask these questions. China? Russia? Are they coming in and helping, and they're now taking? You think they're going to let Israel continue? How does Israel continue in the scenario where winning the war means wiping out all of Palestine and all Palestinians? How is it that Israel exists after that? Where's the scenario in which it continues to exist? There isn't one. There isn't one. Maybe some puppetry. You think China's going to let Israel? Come on. So I think it is required of all of us to go ahead and go there in our minds so that we can turn and say, wow, this is what he is doing is the existential threat to the future existence of Israel. And in fact, when you look at it that way, Gaza, the possible two-state, and certainly the Palestinians they've been the buffer.
Yeah. Yep.
They've been the buffer for Israel. Israel has been able to exist because of them. You can look at it that way. It's time we start thinking like this.
I want to say one thing about the hostages, and then maybe, which when they took the hostages, the primary motive should have been getting the hostages back. Yeah. It's not been getting the hostages back. And I watched video of the wife of one of the hostages at a protest in Israel saying, ceasefire, get the hostages out, being roughed up by the IDF. So that's not a great look, guys. You know, it's but has Netanyahu even met with the hostage families yet?
I don't know. He
calls himself a leader. Our president met with them.
That's right.
I think we should pivot and move the other thing we were going to talk about with the Wall of Stars business to after.
Okay.
And count this as two. Should we do that?
Sure.
We don't want to keep our guests waiting.
I don't want to keep our guests waiting.
We want to bring him on time. The only other thing I have to add then is that Biden needs to move on this now. I think the line has been crossed. You can see it kind of coming in the news coverage. Now, Jill Biden is in the news, Dr. Jill talking about, oh, no, I don't want this. So you can see there's this kind of, they're starting to suggest it, which means behind the scenes, they're probably talking about it a lot. And Joe's got to do something here and call this out, because it's going to cost him votes if he doesn't. It's also the right thing to do to stop giving these people, the IDF weapons.
We can't keep funding this.
Yeah, it's just the blank check has to end.
Yeah. Well, I think, and the president, our president, would have to have had several conversations before doing something like that. So at least we know those conversations have happened. Look, you keep this, we're not going to be there for you. And, all we can hope is that Joe's not like Bibi, that Joe's going to be able to say, look, this might hurt me and it might hurt my chances for re-election, but that's not why I do or don't do something of this importance. We don't allow a mass slaughter and a genocide and to have the Americans financially backing that, because he's trying to cling and hold on to power.
Yeah.
That's what Bibi's doing.
Bibi might as well be wearing a MAGA hat, by the way. So fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take the banner down.
I let the timer keep ticking, though, by the way.
Oh, whatever. We're good. Now we're back on schedule because.
Okay, good. We're on schedule.
So, this is kind of an oldie but goodie. This is a remix.
Oh yeah,
some animation.
A little bit of a remix. A little bit of
a remix. Just for, I think our guests will enjoy this.
Okay, good.
Jenny, she's the cool planner. Clarence loves her, but we cannot stand her. Samuelito will do whatever she says. She wears corruption proudly, like her scar from her mess. on 6 of 9. Jenny Thomas on Clarence, Amy, Brett, Sammy, Neil, and John.
Oh.
Boom. Boom. Barry's side works. It rhymes sort of. It's the slant rhyme. I don't like slant rhymes, but in this case, I make an exception. I make an exception. Our guest tonight, wait, I got to turn the comments. Go back to the comments. Okay, there we go. Our guest tonight has been on the show before. We're pleased to say he's a co-founder of Spy Magazine, the author of Fantasyland and Evil Geniuses, 2 amazing books that anybody watching, if you haven't read them, go buy them and read them, please, at once. He also has a new series with some unknown director named Steven Soderbergh called Command Z, which is streaming for free now. Kurt Andersen.
Kurt Andersen!
Welcome back.
Hey.
How
Hi.
are you?
Hey.
I'm well, and I of course appreciate any Jenny Thomas content that comes my way.
Well,
As her
now.
older, you know.
Yeah.
As her former neighbor, I've always been, yes, I can't get enough. Although, does she really control anybody but Clarence and I guess Sam by extension? I don't know, maybe.
I think she controls Roberts too,
I do
and the
too.
other 3. I mean, what is Brett
Horrified.
Kavanaugh gonna? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, let's not overstate her power of for evil, but you know.
I'm just trying to stir up the hornet's nest, Kurt.
No,
That's
no.
what we're
And you
trying to
needed to rhyme, and you needed to fill out the line. You know.
Exactly right. Now you understand.
That's what.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into the bad stuff, tell us about this Command Z project that you guys have. This show.
It is a show that Stephen and I started talking about. Actually, he got in touch with me. I've known him a little bit for a long time. He got in touch with me after when Evil Genius came out, very enthusiastically about the book, and said, "What can we do? What should we do?" And so we just started talking for a long time about what we ought to do, and had various ideas and thoughts about meaning. How can Steven Soderbergh, in using his immense skills, do something inspired by it? We landed on in our effort to reach the youth and reach people in a way that wasn't didactic and scoldy. To do what we ended up doing is 8 short episodes of a series that tell a story. They range from, I don't know, 10 minutes to 15 or 20 minutes a piece, and about set both in the future and a little bit in the present day, about people 30 years in the future saying, "Hey, back then, 2023, 2024 is the time when we could have all fixed it, and so let's fix it." And that's the premise, and it's time travel, and it's funny, I think, and tries to be, I believe, and stars Michael Cera and Liev Schreiber and other stars too numerous to mention.
I can't wait. I'm watching it.
Good.
I'm watching
Yeah.
it.
Good.
I'm watching it right now. Take care.
All right,
No.
bye. It was super fun and very proud of it, and it was this kooky, wonderful, one of a kind Soderberghian thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I love Soderbergh. He's great. He can do the high, the kind of the quirky stuff, and also the the oceans things. He can do it all. It's good.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
Yes,
So,
many directors say one for them and one for me. He's like one for them and 10 for me.
Yeah.
So you survived the earthquake. You're okay.
Both the earthquake and the aftershock, Greg.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now,
Tell us about the aftershock. So,
I was so, I mean, it wasn't slight, although I was 50 miles further away where I am now when it happened. So it was lighter here in Connecticut where I am. But yeah, it was like a, 4.0, I guess, instead of 4.7 or 8, and around the same, epicenter.
Yeah. And nothing fell, and you didn't experience any kind of I didn't even know there was an aftershock until you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
So I mean, where you said California, I'm like, but I've never heard of New York having an earthquake.
Well, of course you haven't, because it really hasn't.
Really hasn't.
Of any significance. No, and it's funny, like, wow, this is crazy. What can it be? It's an earthquake in New York? No, that doesn't happen. And then And then because whatever, it didn't do any serious it didn't do any damage really. And I liked it in a certain way because we're all New Yorkers. It's like by the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I've been there. That's fine. Yeah, it wasn't no big deal. They were blasé by.
Yeah, that's good. That's how it goes. That's how an earthquake goes. When you have real damage, then it's like then everybody in New York will talk about it to the
Of
end.
course. But even to me, even having apparently been present for one once in Italy, but never didn't feel that either. Didn't feel that. This is the first one I've ever felt. And it does when you feel this thing like significantly in New York City this morning, or even up here in Connecticut, 50 miles, 100 miles away, it really does like, whoa, this is, I mean, Earth, man.
Yeah.
You don't control it, you know, and it was extraordinary. But yeah, so we can be joking about it immediately, effectively. I said something on the social medias about, earthquake today, eclipse on Monday, and Donald Trump running for president.
Yeah.
The Antichrist. It is like a series of scenes from Armageddon, but that is to say the biblical Armageddon, not the movie.
Yeah, the Revelation.
But you going with Armageddon, you're kind of like Kurt of Patmos because you prophesied these things.
Well, I didn't. Well, what the thing that made immediately, because the world was about me and I'm the main character, that struck me is that I'm working on this piece of fiction that in which I don't want to give too much away, but like there's an earthquake in it, in an unexpected place, not anywhere around the tri-state area, but like there's an earthquake in an unexpected place, and it's a non-insignificant thing in this book. And I've been thinking about this for a year and like researching it and like what I got to stop having these fictional thoughts because they come true. So there was that. But then I was reminded by some people earlier today when this earthquake happened that in New York, a cover of New York Magazine when I was editing it some decades ago was about earthquake in New York. Not only can it happen, it will. So timing, of course, we didn't say it would happen immediately, but so 29 years later, it happened. So yes, I'm going to start a cult and tell them, share my gifts with the world.
Make earthquakes great again.
Yeah. I think we should dress. You have some. Your style is too fresh and grounded for cult, so we've got to shift. We've got to shift you a little bit.
I know. I need some cult training, some version of media training that's about cult leadership.
We're gonna get you some cult cashmere.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah. And you need a very special bag.
I'll take you as one of my
okay, I'll be
my cruel COO that runs it for me.
There we go. Can't wait. All right. So we were talking about Bibi. We want to hear your thoughts on that. But I think also, guys, can we just dive into Trump a little bit and this sort of, I know you've been keeping track of the court cases a bit, Kurt, and you've looked at, you know a little bit about Eileen Cannon and what's going on there and that court case. So what are your thoughts on, I guess my big question for you is he going to get away with everything?
Well, everything, no. If I had to bet, if it posed in that binary, I would say no. He's not going to get away with everything. He will have some legal, judicial accountability, I believe, and pay a price. Which one, when, what will happen? I mean, certainly, as we all know, or as we all suspect and know with a certainty approaching 100%, if he's elected president, the federal cases, the Jack Smith cases, will go away. Right. The classified documents case and the election overthrow case, because unless he suddenly shows a great amount of character and integrity, he will, as soon as he becomes president, if he becomes president, at whatever stage those cases are, even if he's, let's say, which is possible, been convicted in the Washington one, in the election overthrow one. Let's say he's been convicted. He can't, and then of course he appeals. Well, he, as running his Justice Department entirely in his thrall and power corrupted Justice Department, he said, no, we're not appealing. We're not, we're standing down. And I understand from all the lawyers I talked to is, yep, he could do that. He could just stop it. So will he get away? Excuse me. Will he get away with the federal cases if he's elected president? Seems like it. Georgia, who knows? That will be adjudicated in 2028 or something. But maybe, that could still do it. And of course, they've got that big central piece of telephone call, just find me 11,780 vote thing that we all know about. And this not insignificant, but like low on the totem pole criminal trial that is going to apparently start a week from Monday. We'll see. It's a jury and they'll decide. But I think the odds are good that it'll happen and he'll be convicted. And, he whatever the punishment is the punishment. Now he will appeal that and blah, 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 blah. But crucially, as everyone probably watching this program knows, he can't stop it. He cannot, except by normal legal procedures within the New York court system. So, that's obviously the best shot for one with which he won't get away and will happen sooner rather than later. And even though people say, oh, it's not as important as this, it's not about the election, it's not about classified documents. Okay, sure, whatever. Yes. But just in a purely political way, and I don't know how much, I think, these cases and these, if they become to trial, can all have a political effect at the margins. And as we all know all too well, this election and presidential elections generally these days are all at the margins. Could have an effect. I think so. I think putting from April 15th to whatever, June, whatever, on display every day with him present, the details of how he attempted to,
criminally obtain the office of the presidency.
Yeah, exactly.
Framing it is important too. And with the crime,
and lie to people and all that. I think that could have an effect. Because we all think, oh, we follow everything to a fairly well and know everything, and we know. How can people not know everything that he did? Well, they don't, because they don't pay as much attention as nerds and freaks like we do. So I think this, day after day after day after day of trial testimony, his testimony, which will probably do him no good, as will not serve him. It will serve him in his, the 30% of Americans or whatever it is who love him will love him all the more. But that swingable 10% and the I don't know, I'd probably vote for Biden, but I don't know. I think it will have some political effect, is what I think. So that's my little tiny glimmer of quasi hope about his legal disposition.
I like it because you are the prophet. You're the symbol of
and sometimes my prophecies are boring like this one, but yes.
The other thing is they're taking his money. Tish James is not going to not take his money. She's now going after the bond person because she's like, what's this Russian porno guy or whatever that's paying for this? That's not going to happen. No, she's coming after him.
No, I think, and I think it seems to me doubtful that either the Jean Carroll or the Tish James verdicts or even amounts will be significantly overturned. The 450 million, I don't care. It may be reduced or whatever, but no, it's not sending him to prison, or it's not whatever you want. Or it's not saying, yes, he did an insurrection, tried to overthrow America, but
hitting him where it hurts.
For him, it will hurt.
That's where it hurts. Is the money, and what's spawns up from that is, if you were really a billionaire, if you're so rich, why can't you pay this? Why isn't this just a blip that you pay off and you go, like very, very wealthy people, when they're sued for something or they have some kind of issue, they cut a deal, they pay the money and they move on because
Right.
it's nothing to them. It's not worth the time. This guy fights because he has no, he's strapped, right? And he's owned. So, and then he's trotting around with, okay, let's get into this. You want to get into the shadow State Department that's running around?
Wait, I want to ask
Greg?
Kurt. We have to ask Kurt about if he has any thoughts about Gaza, Israel, BB, AI, whatever you want to talk about. What we were talking
Israel,
about.
right or wrong? That's what I say. No, that's not. That's a joke of sorts. No, I mean everything is almost everything you guys said. I agree with, and it's atrocious, and I'm just I find it, among other things, among many of my reactions, just as an American, as a supporter of this president for re-election. I mean, apart from the political effect, because he's obviously, to me, it seems like, if he were purely a political character, Biden, that is, he would be like cutting off funding to Israel right now. So he's not doing, for better or worse, and I think worse in this case, what he's doing because for political reasons. I think it's amazing to me that this country, as people have said, I'm going to say nothing new, but has depended on us for, in so many ways, 75 years for funding and support and diplomatic support, for which the United States hasn't been, we paid a price in many ways for that support. So, and good, I am a lover of Israel. Have always been a supporter of Israel. Yeah. Now, starting around when they ended the peace process, or any semblance of a peace process, after the last offer to the Palestinians in 2008, I've said something to myself and to my friends, similarly to what you were saying, Stephanie, which is like, they're headed toward the cliff. They're going toward their own ruination. This cannot be sustained, which is to say, allowing thousands and thousands and thousands of settlers in the West Bank, most especially, which of course, we said, oh no, this is illegal. This is illegal. We can't allow this to happen. But it just kept on going, and they've gone from whatever they've gone from, a couple 300,000 15 years ago to 800,000 now. Check the numbers, but they're in that vicinity. And thus, in this other facts on the ground way, making anything like a lasting, sustainable peace involving a two-state solution impossible. Yeah. So, it seems to me they're not just as you said, but what I think is that they're putting themselves in a position where, if this goes on, Netanyahu may go next week, next month, end of the year, whatever, and his regime or his administration. But, and he's terrible, and this regime, this government is uniquely terrible, but he has been elected. They have been elected. We can't pretend as though, he and they are leading a country that hasn't wanted them. Now the country may say, we've had enough of this. Now it's time to finally make a deal, because we can't put up with this, and any alternative to some kind of Palestinian independence is unsustainable. But, just drawing the line from today, it looks like, no, they've decided they're going to be like, we're going to be a pariah. We're going to be South Africa. We are going to live up to the apartheid caricature that we despise and hate and don't want. And again, as whatever they end up denuding, not destroying, but whatever, making Hamas not a viable military threat, fine. But they are not going to destroy all the Palestinians. They're not going to kill all the Palestinians in Gaza, and certainly not the West Bank. There are still going to be whatever there are, 5 million of them living around and among them. So, Hamas may be destroyed, but Hamas by another name is being born by as a result of what they're doing now. So this can't go on except in a way that is unacceptable to the rest of the civilized world.
Well, that's the problem with the parliamentary system. I think that most of the people in the streets in Israel don't want the guy, but because of the weirdness of the way that it works here in the United States, we just pick somebody and we stick with them for 4 years, come hell or high water, even if he's awful, and then we vote him out and he's gone.
Well, they don't want the guy, but it makes it more tragic and sad to me. But what do they want? I mean, do they want a significantly different policy? Do they just need a leader, a decent, good leader? Benny Gantz will take them to a sustainable future, maybe. But I worry that getting rid of this horrible person, not unlike us keeping Trump from becoming president again. Okay, good. I know in our case, Trump is uniquely terrible, and if you just had normal, shitty, Republicans we disagree with running the party and occasionally running the government, we can live with that because we always have, and
we can survive it. Yeah.
But I mean, is Netanyahu that or because the United States obviously is a complete apple and orange to Israel? Have they, given their history and the unhappy history of them and the Palestinians, reached a point where the people of Israel can't, or locked into their understand? Too many of them are locked into their understanding of Palestinians as their enemies. And again, as a friend of mine said, or somebody I know, I wouldn't call him a friend, who shortly after October 7th, and I completely understood it. And he's a liberal, Israeli. It was, of course we knew a lot of Palestinians, Arabs hate us, that's, it's the nature of the thing here. But having a bunch of them come into our homes and kill us, that, you can't underestimate the shock of that. And I get that. Now, of course, as everybody said immediately, but don't take the wrong conclusions and don't do this like we did on 9/11. And obviously, don't do what the terrorists want. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is so, and the fact that there is 9/11 in everyone's shared history, and we now know that we went and waged war when what the act was, and it was just hard to conceive this, which was a band of thugs, of these terrorist, barbarian thugs, connected into a criminal network. And instead of doing what one would do in justice that works when you're going after a syndicate of thugs, right?
Right.
We approached it as a nation state, who had no real nation state. We approached it in that way of this is how we're going to resolve it. We're going to go into warfare like nations do against one another. And this is the same thing. That's the other part of this. So with Bibi and with the IDF and with his administration, with everyone that's in leadership and calling these shots, it is that test of you have to look at the philosophy underpinning what they're doing, because the only thing that, if you're standing in their shoes to understand, not be them, but to understand their motives and their actions and what they're doing, if it is all Palestinians are educated and they educate their children to become Hamas and to hate Jews, and we have to stop that, and that's what we're fighting, and that's what we're stopping. And you can constantly, I'm listening to their spokespeople constantly come back, or Bibi spokespeople constantly come back and refer to how children are raised and radicalized to become terrorists, all Palestinian children. That's the language of genocide. That's the language of it, because that's the philosophy behind it. The thing behind it is we've got to get rid of all of them because they're always going to try to come and kill us.
I mean, again, there are people in his administration who are
saying,
speak in genocidal fashion. I agree. Now,
Yeah.
of course, again, if there were 30,000, if 9/11 there had been 30,000 Al Qaedans living in, say, Mexico on the border, it would have been a different situation. And we wouldn't have attacked, as we did in. I mean, somebody who had nothing to do with it, as in the case of effectively after 9/11. So it is a different. I mean, it's not the same. And so, I mean, I didn't have an idea with some military. In fact, I think, of course, they had some military response. But like when it extends to this, they're all terrible. There's no stopping it, and blah blah blah. Yeah, that's the dangerous slippery slope. And you just make more of them that hate you. Understandably, the more of them and their parents and their brothers and sisters that you kill. So it's a problem.
Yeah, I know.
And moreover, I mean, anybody can do whatever they want. Countries can be as bad as they want. Okay, that's always have been, always will be. The question, of course, is, but do we have to? At what point does our support for anything they want to do end? Because, I mean, no other country we give money to has that sort of blank check. If any other country were doing anything remotely like what they're doing, it would be game over.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's a good way to end this part of the discussion, which is that, it's a very special relationship. It's unique. We'll pressure Great Britain if they're not doing something we want, but and it looks like Biden and Blinken are going there, and I'm very curious to see how this is going to shake out from the White House, from Washington's standpoint, because the one thing we can say for sure about Biden is that he'll do whatever he thinks is the best thing to do. He's not, I don't think he's, as you said before, Kurt, I don't think he's worried about the election so much. Just like when he pulled out of Afghanistan, he's a custodian of the country and he wants to do what's best. Right. And I think he takes that seriously. And I'm very curious to see how he's going to decide what to do. Because he's not, I don't think he likes the idea of Bibi killing all these people. I know that he doesn't.
No, and the thing that they and people in Israel, I mean, I read Haaretz regularly, have since the October 7th. And, it's not as though, I mean, there is still this sensible, liberal, non-Netanyahu, big chunk of the discourse in Israel. So it's not just like, oh, we against Israel, Democrats, liberals against Israel. But yeah, but what people, they and everywhere have been saying since the beginning, it's like, okay, we get it. However long this takes, month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever is a reasonable amount of time to try to, degrade Hamas sufficiently that they've learned their lesson and they can't kill you tomorrow. But like, what then? What's the day after? And everything Netanyahu and his administration have said since, like, no two-state solution, nope, no Palestinian Authority, nope, we're going to run the place. Well, like, then what and when? And like, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think they've thought it through that much, which is a problem.
I mean, it's shocking because how can you not? But there you go. And again, like how we'll see what Biden what Biden does. But and it's it's as much as you can't not care about the political ramifications and consequences. You can't help but think about them, even though I believe he is as political as a person he is, and this is all he's ever known, is in his earnest, old-fashioned way that people make fun of and think is old and whatever. It's real, and he's, as you say, he's doing what he thinks is the correct thing for humanity, America, whatever.
All right.
It's a lot. We did a lot there.
I know. Okay, so we can stop talking about Bibi.
Let's please do.
And we can start talking about someone,
because it's not very funny talking about Israel.
No, where are the jokes?
So now we're going to talk about somebody slightly less awful, which is Donald Trump. And we didn't even talk about we didn't even talk about the fucking stock, right? The DJT stock.
Oh,
DJT, yeah.
I don't even like it. It just just when you stop and pause and think about what's happened, Devin Nunes, who was the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, which means he knows more shit than almost anyone on earth, is like, fuck this. I'm going to go work for Trump at running Truth Social. I mean, who the fuck would do that? I mean, I get that he's dumb, but that's weird. And now Truth Social has done this thing, which I forget the term of it, but they've merged with a company that's already, what is it called? Piggybacking or something?
SPAC. It's a SPAC.
SPAC. Okay.
Which means they set up a shell company with billions of dollars or as many dollars as you want, and then figure out what to make it by acquiring an existing company. It's not always a grift, but there's a grifty aspect to it. And certainly in this case, it's nothing but, and so here you have this company that, is really just a Donald Trump campaign organ and has, probably has less revenue than the three of us, the pittance that three of us make, practically. And yet they're being valued by the public markets at $4, $6, $8 billion, depending on the day. It is insane. And of course, as everyone knows, it will crash. It will crash. It's not worth, I don't know if it's worth 10 million, 50 million on a crazy day, but not a billion and not multiple billions. So it will crash. And the question is when. And again, it's a thing I'm looking forward to. I mean, of course I'm looking forward to it, but it's a thing in terms of when it happens, how long this craziest tulip bulb bubble of all can be maintained, because I don't think through November 5th, and therefore when it crashes,
you think it's gonna fall apart before
it has to.
You don't think they can keep it?
It's gonna fall apart before Memorial Day. Come on,
it has to. Because there aren't enough people with enough money to keep it up. I mean, they're manipulating the number of shares so that the people who want to short sell, i.e., who know it's going to drop and are trying to make financial bets on the fact of when that happens, they have so few shares out publicly available that it's harder to do shorts, which is a way to keep it from happening and to keep it inflated long enough, maybe, for whatever to happen, maybe Trump to get some money out, which he can't do yet. But anyway, it will happen, I believe. I think the odds are high that it will happen sooner rather than later. And what happens then? He looks like the con man. He is revealed in a more public and current way than ever during this election campaign that he's a con man. It was a con. Of course, it's not worth anything. Now it's worth $1.50 or whatever the shares will be worth. And all these nuts who invested in this stock because it's Donald Trump, man, will be, holding the bag. It'll be
That's
great.
The best part.
It'll be great. I think that, again,
that's the best part.
Could have a political impact. I actually know
a little bit. I wonder how many. He'll be able to cry victim. Oh, they take my Scott. They blah 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 blah. They.
Oh yeah. No, the deep state destroyed him.
Anybody who put their money in and then is left with nothing, that does change people. It does.
Yes.
It's like, what the fuck, man? You fucked with my money.
Yes.
So I hope a whole bunch of them. I don't know if they just bought $20 worth and it's like a lottery ticket to them, maybe. But anyone who put in a little bit more skin in the game there, I think he's lost them forever.
I don't know. Donald Trump's gonna buy it.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's like how large are the sums that people are going to lose? But it's hard to imagine that anyone other than a Trumpist bought that stock. I mean, no sane person would.
Yeah, unless it was a launder, like a lot of things, and people.
Well, no, that's of course, as they've said, this is a new way for whomever. Saudi Arabia, whatever, anybody with tons of money to funnel money to him. Like, oh, I'm going to buy, I like this stock. I'm going to spend 100 million on it. Stock goes up and his paper value goes up. So it's a way in the short or even medium term to bribe him, funnel money to him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, no sane person would do it. Replace the word sane with the word non-Russian, and I think we're
Right.
at it. We're at it.
Yes.
That's
Honest or sane, I would say. Yes. Right.
Okay, I will put this back up.
Here
Okay.
we go.
All right, we're on to anti-pope. I called it anti-pope
Oh.
this section. Yeah.
The what?
I don't know. Anti-pope is like, okay, when there was the schism, there was the pope in Rome, and then there was another guy who was like, you know what, I'm the pope.
Yeah.
And he went to Avignon and hung out there. And
Sure.
there were two popes. There was the real pope and the anti-pope, and they were like, you know, kind of at odds about who was the real pope. And the one in Rome, by the way, is always the real pope. But so Trump has established himself now as kind of this anti-president, if you will, operating out of Mar-a-Lago. And it's interesting to me because reviewing, as I have been, the events of 2016, when in 2018 I wrote a book about all of the, you know, connections he had with Russia, and what a big scandal that was, or we tried to make it into, because it should have been a big scandal that he's meeting with all of these Putin representatives, and presidential candidates aren't supposed to do that, and this and that. Now he's running for president, right? He's got Rick Grinnell, probably the least qualified of any of these people that's ever held a cabinet position, running around, who Trump called, quote, my envoy, which is a political term, going around hither and yon, meeting with these people. Orban, a leader, an actual leader of a country, comes to Mar-a-Lago to visit Trump, does not go to Washington.
I think he put on shorts. I think not only did he come to Mar-a-Lago, I think he actually wore shorts.
And then you had these two corpulent men, their bellies out over there. Yeah, it was just, it was quite something to see.
By the way, Orban really has gained a lot of weight and looks a lot worse in the last 10 years. No one said this, but I'm just saying it.
Okay.
I agree.
Because he's not even that old. He's like 60.
He has not discovered Ozempic, and someone needs to help him out.
Well, you know, yeah.
Isn't Ozempic a Magyar
And the thing
word?
about him, by the way, is he's a former Richard Grinnell, political consulting client.
Yeah.
Okay, can I brag for 1 second? I wanted you to see this, Kurt, because I'm very proud of this. This is one of my proudest Twitter moments. I'm just going to show this here. Okay, this is a tweet that I did. He had a tweet out something, and he had sunglasses on, and this is when I was doing my traders are easy to spot thing. So I quote tweeted him, and I said this: the traders are easy to spot, and he said to me, this is when he was the DCNI or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it was.
No, let's debate without calling people traitors or Russian operatives. And if you'll notice, I did not call him a Russian operative.
No,
I did not. And
so this is it? You only called him a traitor?
Yeah, the traitors need to spot. This one's wearing sunglasses.
Wow. I'm not a Russian operative. I'm like, oh, interesting. That's kind of a tell.
He really thought he was sexy and cool in those sunglasses.
That's fantastic.
Wasn't he in like a helicopter and looking cool? Like I'm out. You know, I'm
hats off. You should be proud of that.
Yeah.
That was my proudest tweet. Well, blocked by WikiLeaks was good too, but that was a good one. That was a good one.
And it can't be overemphasized how unqualified he is to be apparently a top contender for Secretary of State. I mean, he was a publicist, in the State Department 15, 20 years ago. Okay. But that's what he was. And, he has no skill. And by the way, I mean, not that where you went to college is everything. This guy, however, went to a little college, I think called Evangel College, that is a Pentecostal college. Now, again, whatever faith you want is fine. But like, I don't know, look up Pentecostal. It's the nuttiest set of Christian denominations.
I'm glad I didn't have water in my mouth. I would have put that out.
It's and so, and maybe he got a great education. I'm not saying that.
No, come on, stop it.
Anyway, and he comes across as, given how unqualified he is and everything else, he comes across as relatively sophisticated. And cosmopolitan, because he is gay, so he must be smart and sophisticated. But like, no, it's amazing. And the idea that I mean, I'd rather have Jared be Secretary of State than Richard Graham. I really literally would.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And it leads into our next topic, but I just have to also say, how is this legal?
That's my point.
You're out
it isn't fucking legal.
Policy with foreign leaders having an envoy, and nothing is going to happen.
I know.
Google George Logan, okay? It ain't fucking legal. It hasn't been legal since the 1700s.
Yeah. We're talking the Logan Act now, are
yes.
we? Yes.
Logan was there, negotiating in France. This is a long time ago. I was just reading this in the Well, anyway.
That's what if Nixon could have been prevented from becoming president, or not prevented from becoming president, but prosecuted under the Logan Act in his first term, would have saved us all a lot of trouble.
Would have saved a lot.
Hey, he passed a lot of really liberal legislation for reasons
I've written about that at length.
I was going to say, for reasons that are expertly covered in Evil Geniuses.
He's the most liberal president until Joe Biden of the last 50 years. I mean, that's true. He just is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my God, we've descended into fantasy land. Okay, did we ring the bell yet? Are we into the next thing? No?
Oh, I forgot. Yes, we're there. Okay,
you forgot. Okay, so now is the time for announcements that we do announcements. So
let's do some announcements.
Okay, so Kurt, where can we find the command Z? You gave me the URL. Where can people?
It is at commandzseries.com, the streaming subsidiary of Steven Soderbergh Incorporated, if there were such a thing. And that's where you can find it. And it used to cost money, and now it's free.
Yay!
Okay. Does Command Z have any? It doesn't have anything to do with Control Z, because that would erase it.
No, well, it's actually, as you'll see, because of its premise, a science fictional time travel premise, where they try to do over and go back.
So it is. Okay. I like it.
It does.
I like
it. And perhaps some gesture to Gen Z as well. But, stars Michael Cera, stars Liev Schreiber, stars, Roy Wood Jr., has good stars in it. And it's good.
Good. I'm watching it.
You've convinced us.
I'm in. I'm fully in.
I'm in. LB, you have announcements?
I don't, other than I did. I was on Sherry Jacobus's podcast this week. We recorded it. I don't know if it's out yet, but I want everyone to give that a listen, because Sherry's just doing it and putting it out on her own, and like Soderbergh putting it out on their own. And that's what we should all be supporting right now. With folks that are just making their thing the way they want to make it, regardless of whether that some big streamer comes in and finagles the whole thing. So everybody can catch me there this upcoming week. And then I don't know what else. Just hit the like, hit the subscribe, become a member. We love having you guys. I don't know, Kurt, if you've been seeing our community board here in the comments, but everyone, this is the most amazing. I don't know how we left into this 5/8 community. I mean, our followers started it, but they've grown it. And they have their own world going on. Like, we're here, the three of us having a conversation, and they're kind of tuning in to what we're saying. No, very much paying attention, but they have their own world going on. So it gets even better when we join and we do that. Community has a chance to build when we do our subscriber only content as well. And sometime, Kurt, you'll have to come into that forum. That's really fun.
Do you do live events?
Well, this is a live event, but we should do. We always do, but we're all in our own locations. I've got possibly a visitor coming up for. I'm right in the zone.
The totality.
I live in the totality zone.
You live in the North Country.
I'm in North Country for sure. Yeah, I'm in Lake Placid, Saranac Lake area. So we get we're going to get that eclipse, and so I might have some visitors coming up. We might have to do it. Spontaneous live event. I don't know.
I think it might be possible. By the way,
we've been talking about coming down to the city, actually, in which case you should join us, and just finding some bookstore, someplace that will be gracious enough to let us tromp around.
You mean auditorium?
Oh, an auditorium. Yes, I mean Madison Square Garden. If you're there, you are going to MSG.
I think what she meant was bar, but whatever.
Bar.
It's all fine. Do you want to do were we supposed to do a thing tonight? Should we do a thing or no?
I don't think we should do a thing tonight, because I have this Manhattan. I I'm
That's
going to go to bed.
more reason to
But
do
I
it.
think we should do a thing
Next week for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, next week for sure. My only announcement is I had Manisha Sinha on my podcast today. She wrote a book called The Rise and Fall of the Second American Republic, which is a big sweeping tome about Reconstruction, but it's an expansive thing, so it doesn't cover Reconstruction from the usual period. It goes from 1860 really to the end of the 1800s, and it's a fantastic book. And I really enjoyed talking to her. So if you want to check that out, it's worth it because Reconstruction is such an interesting period of time that is not really much covered, mostly because during that period of time from the 1860s to the 1900, the United States was busy doing things that Bibi Netanyahu is emulating right now. And Hitler emulated in the Second World War, and we don't like to talk about. But these things did happen. They need to be addressed, and we need to reconcile with them. And our failure to do so, I think, is, in no small part, put us in the position that we're in now. Okay, LB, let's do the, you were going to do the thing that was the desecration part 1.
Oh, the desecration thing. So Kurt,
yeah, I like this.
My mom, sort of, I was having a conversation with my mom, and I don't have the, I forgot to bring it because we'll do RFK later because that's sort of in the vein of this, but I want to stick to Donald. But my mom brought this up that, the kind of the heartbreaking part of Donald is that he, as Americans, there are things that we cherish as American. We do cherish our military. We do cherish our intelligence services in terms of the folks that work for that feel that they're having a purpose, and it's American, and they're working towards the good of the whole for the country. So this sort of thinking that there are things about our country that we held dear, our rights, our freedom of speech, our freedom, like all of that, the press, the free press, it's all of these things are really important to Americans and part of our identity. And Donald came in on second one of his term. And, obviously the campaign, there was plenty of desecration, but his sort of gig was just to come in real time and desecrate in real time right in front of the people that it meant the most important to. So his first day of office, right? His first full day of office, he gets sworn in, they have the ball. The first thing he does his first day in office is show up at the CIA Wall of Stars in front of all those officers and everybody who understands that is their holy ground. That is their sacred ground. And he just takes a shit. He just desecrates it. And it occurred to me that that's how he owns people. Because nobody stopped him in that moment. No one in that room stopped that. No one was willing to go, because I think it's president and it's confusing, and I get that. But no one was willing to go, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. Get out. You're standing in front of a grave, mass grave here of our, our sacrifice, our holy ground, and you're desecrating it. Because no one did that, it was like a thing he does to test, to see, is this really holy to you? Is this really sacred to you? Because I'm going to come in here and smear shit all over it. Metaphorically or literally, his horde smearing shit on the Capitol. And I know you won't stop me. And the second they don't, or we don't, the second that's like, he gets away with that in real time, in our face, and we put fear of this. Oh my God, I want to get fired to say something. Should I, what? Fear or ego or whatever it is. He's proven that we don't hold that as a higher purpose. We don't hold that up as a higher thing. So it's not just breaking norms. He's breaking us. He's breaking us. And in that moment, the second we didn't stop him, and those CIFers didn't stop him, he owned them. That's it. That's the ownership. That's the moment of ownership. Now I own you because I just proved that this thing that you say that you make sacred, I just smeared my shit all over it and you did nothing. So now you're mine.
True. All beautifully said and absolutely
That,
true. And,
that's
I mean, it's
special
obviously
power.
a specific psychiatric, thing that people in positions of abusive power do, exactly that. And here, what he takes over immediately, and the first bulwark who caved and gave in, the Republican Party, the party representing sanctimony, morality, all of the values that you're talking about, no, all of whom until he won the power, we're saying all those things. He's terrible. He's a liar. He has no beliefs, all of which were true. And then they give in. And then they keep giving in. It's hideous. And you're exactly right. Once you give in, then what do you do? Well, it wasn't my fault. Well, obviously, now, of course, if you were a true Christian, you'd say, I've sinned. Please release me. I followed this idol. I was an idolater, all the rest, but they don't. No, it's remarkable. The other thing is, it comes from as I, thought about and wrote about in Fantasyland, it comes from this American tradition, among other things, of anti-establishmentism, and which is, has its great aspects, right? And then when that became supercharged in the 1960s, and we thought, it was for, supercharged for, hippies and radicals and the counterculture. Well, where that has redounded, 50 years later, is in Donald Trump and his kind of we're outlaws MAGA people, right? I mean, it's the, you remember back in the late 60s. I mean, there was Tom Hayden, and then there were Hell's Angels, right? And those the outlaw individualist anti-establishmentarians, the bikers, if you will, are who these folks are. And you said something about, the community, the sense of collective purpose and everything that, yes, is a human desire, and certainly an American one as well in its particular American ways. But that he is saying, no, those really don't count. And maybe we'll still wear the flag and we'll still say USA and stuff, but like, he's speaking to the alienation and disappointment of various kinds among his people, and saying, nah, collective community bullshit. It's all about you. It's all about me. It's all about us. The most cynical, purposeless, no purpose except, getting your own, and no, and when people say it's so un-American in that traditional way, it is un-American in the full and best sense of America, as opposed to just this, the pure, like, commercial, cynical part of America, which wasn't ever what, the country was supposed to be about. But there he is, and with this powerful, reckless, nihilistic minority has, achieved, and maybe about to achieve, more tremendous power.
Yeah, I think there's probably what he is the Venn diagram overlap of establishmentism and antisocial personality disorder. It's like, yeah, that's a very specific sort of sphere.
Yes.
And he's got that. He wields it. He is that. He is a sociopath in my estimation, in my opinion. I feel like, because the playbook is so clear, it's now on all of us to not. It's not about being triggered. It's about going, stop, shut up, sit down, go in the corner and sit. Bad.
Yes.
Like, we have to become parents again. instead of being held hostage by the alcoholic parent, we have to become the functional parent and tell that this is bad. You're going to stop right now in the moment and take the toy away.
Yep.
And unless you do that, just like the whole Fourth Estate, succumb to him. You have to. It's not about either. This is sacred stuff, and either we do revere it and we hold it and we are protectors of it and we are of service to it. We are stewards of our principles, or we're owned by a strong man. That's the choice now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember when Mike Judge's movie Idiocracy came out 15 years ago. It's funny, but it's so over the top. It's crazy. Well, of course, more and more since he's been around as a political figure and president and trying to become president again, it's not a documentary, but like the president in that movie, and is, I mean, it is what we're in as much as any film I know that sort of depicted the kind of crazy place. And my Venn diagram, in addition to mental impairment and criminality, lying, that thing, the third part of my Venn diagram is just stupidity. I mean, he's so astoundingly ignorant of everything, so dumb. I mean, also a genius in his lizard way, but so those three things, and it's always hard to know with the things he does or says, especially, what is working here. Is he just stupid? He doesn't know this? Is it narcissism or whatever other mental impairment he has? Or is it like what criminal? I mean,
criminality always. It's criminality.
Oh, yes, I agree. It's a bigger part of the Venn diagram. I agree, but it's hard to. It's not always easy to suss out how much of each in each instance.
Yeah, who's in the driver's seat? Sometimes it's hard to know who's driving.
Yes,
which one of the things is driving? No. But the fuel is crime.
Yes, yeah, and getting something for nothing, and yes, exactly. I mean, it's the worst kind of New York idea,
I know.
It's time to take the car keys away from grandpa. Also, the dementia thing is kicking in something awful. LB, just to get back to the point you were making about the desecration, because I think this is an interesting idea. I mean, it's not just going to the Wall of Stars, it's the suckers and losers comment.
That's right.
It's inviting the Taliban to Camp David. It's installing Jared Kushner and letting him read the fucking briefs. It's Betsy DeVos as the fucking education secretary. It's Grinnell, this moron running around pretending that he cosplaying as a diplomat. It's all of these things.
It's taking Lincoln's Bible, which the Smithsonian offered to Barack Obama as a sign and a symbol of how far the nation had come, so he could swear himself in as the first Black American president. It's then, instead of the Smithsonian offer it as your Donald, because you're following Barack Obama, demanding Lincoln's Bible and putting your tiny little shit-stained, grubby, pussy-grabbing paw on it and saying, I'm going to swear myself in and I'll be the last one to do this. But that's what it is. That's his.
It's good. Now, I'm going to say one thing, and this is going to be the end of the show, because Kurt, we end the show.
We got to end it for Kurt.
With a line, with a quote, with a line, this and that. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's always great to see you. I'm personally a huge fan, and I'm excited to watch the show and all this stuff. And I'm glad that you're here contributing to our knowledge of all of these horrors that's going on. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, LB, you said, wait, I gotta get queued up here so I don't screw this up. Okay. You said about the CIA. Okay, we're in that moment. And if you think of Trump as McCarthy and that kind of thing, what broke McCarthy ultimately was Welch saying, have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you no sense of decency?